What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Casey and Michelle, and we are discussing episode 2 of Tales of the Walking Dead. And this episode is Blair and Gina. First off, we want to say that Casey is having a little technical difficulty, so we won't be able to see her tonight, which really bums me out because I feel like if any episode needs to have facial expressions, it needs to be this one.
So she has to tell us her facial expressions when she's talking.
Right. All right. Blair, Gina, let's talk about this episode because it was definitely not what I was expecting from the Walking Dead universe. But in a way, that was the best thing about it. You know, this episode was so funny to me. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, because let me tell you, when Blair, when it opened up and Blair is sitting there drumming her fingernails on the desk, I was like, oh, already, I ain't gonna like this bitch. I already know. But this episode was so funny. Like,
starting off with her AstroTurf vest.
Girl, what the?
Let's talk about her fashion. I was looking at her like, what in the, like, she has on AstroTurf as a vest. She's got on, like Gina said, all the neck accessories. This is already going to be a typical, a non-typical commentary, because this episode was kind of all over the place and it was so different. Yeah. She's got the AstroTurf vest on. She's got on a light pink blouse. She's got on, I think, dark navy blue pants. She's got on leather print boots. And then she has that big dark pink, purplish, whatever that thing is. And then a purple. I was like, first of all, who, like,
all them colors?
Like,
yes.
I was like, and then with the dangly chandelier earrings, I was like, first of all, did she do this and just kind of like pick and choose from her closet? What in the world was she wearing? Oh,
it looked like she tripped and fell in her closet, and everything that stuck she put on. Anything that stuck to the AstroTurf.
Let me tell you, this character and the person who plays her, Parker, let me tell you.
Oh, I love her.
Everything about this character irritated me from the moment she was on the screen till the moment she was off, but it was still funny as hell watching her. It's like, you know how you have those characters you love to hate? She was one of those characters for me. But it was so hilarious. Her facial expressions, her reactions, the way she runs, and just... I think I enjoyed this episode way more than I was supposed to. Just the way the interpersonal reactions, her and Brian, her and Gina, her and the rest of the crew. I laughed so hard during this episode, and I was like, wait, I am not supposed to be laughing like this at The Walking Dead.
That's how I was feeling too. At certain points, it's like, this is not great and you shouldn't be laughing, but I was laughing. Or I had a big smile on my face.
You know, the last time I laughed this hard at a Walking Dead episode where it was supposed to be like comedic, I think was when we were introduced to Jesus. When you had Rick and Daryl running around chasing after him. I think that's the last time that there was like actual on purpose, this kind of humor in The Walking Dead. And that's been years ago. This was just, I mean, okay.
Sorry.
I mean,
I'm trying to find my mute button. I didn't find it.
Oh, that's okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's just talk about these characters. So the story starts off, you have an insurance company, Circle of Trust Insurance Company, and they're having like a little quick powwow towards the end of the day. It's like 4 something in the afternoon. And Blair is, I'm guessing she's the manager or the owner of this insurance company. And so you have Gina, who is the receptionist, who looks like she clearly does not enjoy her job. And then you have these other three employees there, and they're talking about the panic that everyone is going through and how this can be used to kind of like bump up business. I was like, oh, okay. This is the reason why she gets eaten, because I'm thinking about the trailer. You know, in the trailer, one of the lasting images is of her like literally giving a walker her neck to eat. Right. So of course, I'm wondering how you're going to get from this point to that point. So anyway, she's having this meeting about what they can do to, you know, boost business. But in the same breaths, she just keeps turning around and taking digs at Gina. It's obviously she does not like Gina. And Gina is just sitting there, just kind of like looking at her like, okay.
And then typing things about Blair on her computer.
She made us making a spreadsheet on how she a narcissist.
Yep. She's listing all of her personality traits. And then there's another page up that is referenced at the end of the episode. And I didn't realize it until I went back to rewatch it. But anyway, going back to them. So Blair obviously has this very, very antagonistic relationship with Gina. We don't know why, but like she's just literally always on Gina's ass during this whole opening monologue. And I was just sitting there like, why has she not just punched her in the face already? Like, why has Gina not punched her in the face already? Because had that been me, she got punched in the face. But so what happened?
Or at least hit on the knuckles with a cup with them fingernails.
Let me tell you that she just kept doing it, and the way Gina was looking at her like, if you don't stop, I was like, oh my God. I was like, in the first, y'all really wanted us to hate this character in the first minute of the show.
Mission accomplished.
Yes.
She was so annoying. She was so annoying. So anyway, she starts talking about the insurance company. Then she starts talking about her spring nuptials, because apparently she's getting married. And then she turns around. She was like, do you have something to say about my spring nuptials, Gina? And I'm just like, Gina wasn't even looking at you like, why?
She's not even involved in the conversation. Like, you're talking to the other workers and she's not involved. So
she don't even care.
Don't even care.
Because you see every time she says something to her, she moves the little window back over, covering up what she was focused on. So she ain't paying nobody's attention to nothing she talking about.
I think it's almost like she was tuning her out. Like, Gina has this in the beginning of the episode. She has this very blank stare. Like she's really just sitting there, just kind of going through the motions, and she's just like, why am I here? Why are you talking? Why are we listening to you? It was this weird dynamic. And I know I've been saying that word a lot lately, but it was weird. Like purposefully antagonistic. So anyway, Blair leaves out of the office because she's apparently getting ready to go out on this, long weekend with her fiance. And she says something to Gina about, make sure you stay at your desk until everyone leaves. Don't
lock the back door.
And lock the back door, because it was left unlocked on Monday. And she asked her something about the stupid coffee cups. Like, are you taking the coffee cups? The coffee, they keep getting missing. So order some more. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. And then she leaves. And the next thing we see of her is she's in the car with her fiance. They're at a gas station, and the gas station has run out of gas because everybody is trying to flee town. Oh, also, let's note this takes place in Atlanta. Okay.
Yes. Let's take note. They're supposed to be just going on a weekend trip.
On a weekend trip, but you got your car packed.
To Savannah.
You got your car packed. Like stuff is packed on top of your car.
That's a hell of a weekend.
Like when are you gonna?
She panicked and was like, "We ain't coming back to this place."
Or maybe it was Brian who panicked. I don't know, but Okay, let's talk about that. So they're in the car. She's sitting there looking at something, talking about work stuff. I guess she's talking about the dying brain. She's reading an article about the dying brain. And he's like, yeah, look, we're supposed to be on vacation. Then she starts going off about Gina. I think my receptionist is stealing the coffee mugs and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And he just looks at her, he turns and he does this. I was like, oh, so your fiance can't stand you either. Okay, so it's not just us.
Yeah.
You getting on everybody's nerves.
Everybody. So then while she's sitting there in the car, Gina pulls up in her car. Well, this is after the gas tanker. The gas tanker comes up, and then Gina pulls up in her car. And she goes into the store. She sees that literally the stores, the shelves have been picked clean. And when she comes out, Blair is standing outside. What are you doing? This doesn't look like you're at your desk. Because Blair has stepped out of her car because she's like, oh my God, she didn't stay at her desk like I told her to. I got to go handle this. Bitch, you on vacation.
Right. I could be getting a snack, like she said.
Which is what she was doing because the vending machine at work does not work. And her and Blair start going back and forth, or rather I should say Blair starts going back and forth about how she's undependable, how she's unreliable, and this, that, and the other, and how we might have to rethink this situation. And Gina's like, are you firing me? She was like, no, see, you can't even interpret that properly. And then as she's sitting there fussing at her, this car drives by. And the lady is driving in the car. And she's got a man in the car with her with this very nasty looking walker bite. And she's looking. And then Blair is still going off. And then she gets on the phone, I guess, to call the office or to call somebody. Gina goes to her car. She reaches in the back and she turns around with a freaking shotgun. I was like, wait.
What is happening here?
What is happening here? Now, I would have thought that she was going after Blair. But no, what does Gina do? She goes after the guy who's filling up the gas with the tanker. And she tries to steal the tanker from him. I was like, wait, there's too much. Like, I'm trying to figure out what are we doing here? What's going on? Why is she? Which, of course, I was like, okay, she's trying to steal the gas because nobody has the gas right now. And I don't know. It was just something about the way that she reacted. She just went from sweet to, I need you to give me the keys.
Well, she freaked out. She freaked out because she saw that car pass and she saw the guy. And then she was like, somebody parked right behind her. And she was like, you
couldn't get out.
That's right. She couldn't get out.
And then she said, forget this shit.
That's right. Somebody was parked behind her. She was like, does anybody know who's parked? Does anybody know the driver of this car?
She was like, okay.
Huh?
No, I'm just saying, she said, okay, I get my shotgun.
So she has the shotgun. There's a gentleman there who is an employee of the Department of Homeland Security. He gets out of his car and he was like, ma'am, I don't think you want to have that shotgun. You know, you look like a nice lady. Gina's like, sir, with all due respect, you don't know anything about me. And then Blair was like, come on, I promise not to fire you. You can go back to your normal life. She was like, bitch, you don't know me
either.
You don't know nothing about my normal life.
Right. So then they hear screaming, they turn around, and the guy in the car has obviously already turned. He is attacking his wife. She is, gotten out of the car trying to get away from him, and he's biting into her neck and eating her. They're all panicking. And let me tell you, Blair's facial expressions, the way that she is, I think that was the funniest thing in the episode. Her facial expressions were so hilarious. So they're all sitting there like looking all horrified. The the truck driver tries to take the shotgun. Was it the I can't remember. It was one of them.
The Homeland Security. He freaked out and then he grabbed the shotgun.
He tried to take the shotgun. They turn around, the shotgun goes off into the gas tanker. The gas tanker blows up. They all catch on fire apparently. And then we're back at the insurance company. I was like, wait, hold up. what the hell just
and
happened?
She's coughing up smoke.
She's trying to have the same conversation, and she's like, and then she was like, and they're looking at her like, what is wrong? She was like, oh, it was a coffee grind. Maybe someone else should be fixing the coffee. Of course, she's turning around looking at Gina, and one of the other guys, he was like, I made the coffee this morning.
And I caught it the second time. The first time around, I was thinking she just couldn't get her words out. But then the second time around, it was like you were inhaling smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I just can't get it together.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so she starts having these conversations again, but she's also hearing like echoes of the conversation that she had before. It's like deja vu. And so she's starting to freak out. And she's saying stuff to Gina. Gina's just looking at her like, uh-huh. And everybody else is starting to look at her like, what the fuck is wrong with her? She leaves out of the office. She's in the car with Brian again. They have a different conversation, but you can tell she's uneasy. She's like, have you ever had like experience like strong deja vu? And I mean, she's sitting there like talking to herself like, breathe, breathe, breathe. And she's just she's very antsy.
She's trying to figure out what happened. What just happened?
Right. Like, how are we here again? Like maybe she imagined it. But then here comes the gas tanker again. And then here comes Gina again. And the weird thing about it this time is that Gina gets out of her car. She puts her purse over her just like she did the first time. She walks up to the store door, stops. She turns around, and then she looks dead at Blair. And of course, Blair is freaking out at this point because she was like, wait, what is going on? So when she looks at Blair, she goes to her car, she gets the shotgun, she goes to the gas tanker. Guy was like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Like, is this a Groundhog Day type thing? I had no clue what was really going on.
Right. I couldn't think of what movie it was where they kept doing the same day over.
Yes, Groundhog Day.
Yep, Groundhog Day.
And she goes over to the guy again, and she tries to, take the tanker. And of course, he's like refusing. The DHS guy comes out of the car again. And I'm trying to remember. I think Blair at this point goes to the DHS guy. She's like, hey, she's going to do such and such or what. It's like.
No, that's the time when she saw he was bit.
Yes.
The second time she saw he was bit on the wrist.
Yes, because the third time was when she said, yeah, that's a nasty bite. Don't ask me how I know.
Right.
Yeah. And this time she was like, you don't want to bring another gun, too many guns by the gas tanker.
Was this was this the time when the son got into the gas tanker? Was it the second time? Okay, that was the third time. So basically,
there's so many times.
These scenarios.
This time, Gina actually steals the tanker, and then Blair chases her.
Yeah, she chased her. And because that's when the son was in there. She jumped on the hood. Remember? And because the
was it?
No, this
the driver got shot. The driver got shot, and she was trying to. But the little boy was in the car, so she was trying to. Gina was trying to drive it. Remember, she was driving it from the outside and said, I'm going to open the door because the little kid wouldn't get in the driver's seat to help her. So that's when Blair ran down the middle of the street.
That's not the second time.
Oh, that's not?
Second time.
That's the third time.
Second time, Blair chases Gina, and she steps in front of the tanker, and then Gina swerves and then runs off the side of the road and blow him up again. And then Gina, when it opens back up, Gina's screaming in her chair.
I thought that was okay.
No, the second time I just played it real quick. That's the only reason why I know. I just real quick just played it.
Okay. But you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. She did. So it's like there. And it's so funny that we have to sit here and think about it because it happened a few times before they cut out all of the intro stuff, like them arriving at the gas station and stuff, and just kind of showed us what the scenarios were. But basically, this plays every time. Like the first time, Blair lost it because she was coughing up the fire. The second time was when they blew up and Gina started screaming, and she goes to the back, and Blair is telling everybody else. She was like, okay, hold on for a second. She goes to talk to Gina, who is outside now. She was like, it's happening to you too, right? And Gina was like, yep. She was like, what's going on? Why are we having the same, like, they're trying to figure it out, or at least Blair is. And Gina's like, look, I just want you to get away from me. Just let me go do what I need to do. She was like, go to the gas station. Don't go to the gas station. I'm gone. She goes to the gas station again, or rather, no, she tells Blair, you go to the gas station or don't go to the gas station. I'm not going to the gas station. So her plan is to not go to the gas station. So here we go again. Blair and Brian are sitting in the gas station. Blair's sitting there just trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And in Brian's side mirror, you see Gina coming with the shotgun. And Brian is like, do you see this? Do you see what's going on? Are they filming a movie? Like,
with
is this
no
supposed
car.
to be happening?
Yeah.
Something tells me Brian don't have, the elevator don't go all the way to the top floor with Brian, because
he wasn't paying attention to nothing.
Because if somebody is running up with a shotgun, I'm not no, you don't see anything saying that there's a movie filming. Something is wrong with him. So anyway, when Blair realizes that is Gina again, they start this whole thing again. Gina tries to take the tanker. Blair comes out. She talks to the DHS guy. Yeah, that bite looks bad. Don't ask me how I know, but I know. She was like, she's about to do this and this is about to happen. They're all like trying to, I guess, between her and Gina, they're trying to figure out different ways to react to the situation so they don't have the same outcome. And this is the point where the DHS guy takes Gina's shotgun and he basically uses his position to confiscate the tanker. And he tells his son to get into the tanker so they can take it. Then the commotion with the guy, the walker happens. And then the tanker guy, while everybody else is distracted, he runs, jumps in the tanker. He's like, what are you doing in here? Talking to Wendell. And then he still drives off. They're all sitting here like,
somebody.
Huh?
He done kidnapped somebody.
Man, no, first of all, that little boy shouldn't have been in that truck. His dad was stupid. His dad was stupid. You supposed to work for the government. You stupid telling your child to go get into a truck and you're not even in there yet.
Right. Well, pause for a second. A little detail. When Blair gets out the car, why is she taking the full-on jacket and scarf with her to confront?
Each time.
And you know what's about to happen. And you're taking the full-on jacket, scarf with you.
I don't know.
With your actual vest. Okay.
I don't know. But the tanker pulls off.
And they jump
Gina
on.
and the DHS guy fight over the shotgun. Shotgun goes off, shoots the driver in the head. Now we have a runaway tanker with a little boy inside. I was like, this thing just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
The more they try, the worse it gets.
Yes. And then they both running and jumping on the tanker.
So Gina runs. She climbs up to the driver's side door. She's trying to talk down Wendell because, first of all, she just shot this driver. He's in the car. He just witnessed this driver get shot. He's traumatized. She's trying to talk him down like, hey, okay, you want to grab the wheel so you can steer? And then here comes Blair running in her animal print boots. Prissy warning on top of that. She's not full out shot. She's still doing like this. And then what does she do? She climbs on the truck and then she somehow gets on top of the truck and then she lands on the hood of the rig And they're sitting there arguing with each other, trying to get Wendell to take the wheel so that they can kind of avoid the tanker exploding. Wendell is looking at them like, I'm not doing nothing neither one of y'all tell me to do. So
he
Gina
needed a whooping. He needed a whooping.
But
no,
that was
he didn't need the
hilarious.
whooping this time. The adults needed the whooping in this one.
But it's just hilarious. Blair on the hood of that tanker out of nowhere.
And how she get up that high?
Right. That's what I was like. What is going on?
She had it in her. I didn't think
Whole time she didn't even know.
Look, she had that core.
No, she does not look like she works out a day in her life to me. She looks like
the boots,
she's too.
it may have a special level. Well, she had she had the leopard print. She could jump like a leopard.
No, no. We don't have any superhero shoes in the Walking Dead.
Oh my gosh.
No. But anyway, so Gina, she finally works her way into the truck. She grabs the wheel. She thinks she's about to get control. And then the driver wakes up and eats her. Now, here's the thing. Was I mistaken in thinking that the driver got shot in the head? I mean, obviously he couldn't have if he woke up and started eating her.
It looked like it was more face.
Right here.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought the same thing. Like, did he get shot in the head?
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if this is a delusion of some sort, he would have came to life anyway. But yeah, so he comes to life, eats her. Here they go again. I was just like, oh yeah, I see it now. It is, his cheek is blown out. But when I tell you, they go back, we're at the insurance company again. She is looking at the wall, and Blair is looking at her, and all the other employees are looking like they're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, because Gina is sitting there holding her neck like she doesn't know what's going on. Blair is sitting there like, he was dead, and then he was not dead. He was dead, and then he was alive, and he was eating you. And if nobody else has any context of that conversation or what that means, I'm sure the people in their office were looking like, what the hell are y'all talking about? What is going on? I'm telling you, at this point, I would have expected to be annoyed with the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it just kept getting funnier and funnier. And then this is the point where Gina gets ready to leave, and Blair says something to her, and she was like, shut up. Just shut up. She was like, all you do is talk and talk and talk. And then when you finish, you talk some more. Just shut up. She was like, do you really think anybody in this office really likes you? Then she starts laying it all on the table. She was like, Jasmine doesn't like your hair. She was like, you know, she was like, you know, the reason why the door is unlocked on Mondays because such and such. Yeah, it's okay. He has to go. What was it? She says he comes to work early every Monday and leaves early every Monday so he can go watch his daughter play soccer. And she was like, all of these people are sitting here trying to get their face on a wall. She just starts going off, and she was like, you're so selfish and blah blah blah, da 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 da. She goes off on her. She turns to leave, and Blair is like, if you would just stay in your seat like I told you to do and did your job, none of this would be happening. She was like, bitch, I just told you everything about you. And I started out that sentence with, you're selfish, and you still talking selfish stuff. So you didn't even listen to the whole conversation. I was like, I didn't know what to think at this point.
She had a point though.
She did.
She did have a point. She started talking about her clothes and about her. She was like, and who wears that many neck accessories? Like, she
was over it at that point.
All she did was like just cover her neck up a little bit more.
She should have said something about that AstroTurf vest. Like, I mean, and I'm looking at it. It looks like she took some stuff from an arts and crafts store.
It does.
And just put it together. She needed that. She needed that lashing. She needed that tongue lashing. And it was funny, but it was still kind of like all the other employees are sitting there like they're still trying to figure out what's going on. They're like, where's all of this coming from? And you gotta kind of wonder, like, I don't know. It's just so confusing because at this point, I'm really still trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Like, is one of them dead? Is somebody dying? Because, you know, we've seen a couple of characters in The Walking Dead, when they're dying, they have these hallucinations. And I'm wondering, okay, so did Gina actually get bit and she's having this hallucination? But no, it would seem like it started with Blair first, because Blair was the first one to react when it came back for the second round. So I'm just sitting here like confused. I'm sitting here watching this and I was like, I can't wait to talk about this episode because I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Like, none.
I just kept thinking at some point they weren't going to be back in that office.
I thought,
you know what I mean? Because it's like each time they did something different, trying to switch up the scenarios, and each time there was something a little different each time. So then you're wondering, okay, you know, it's kind of like maybe it is Groundhog's Day, but it's like if I do this one thing different, will it alter the rest of the path? So they're trying to figure out how to alter the path to get past 5 o'clock because they don't make it past 5 o'clock.
Yeah, they say that after attempt number, I don't even remember.
Several.
237.
Right, because we have a montage of either Blair still in the tanker.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, wait, we got to go through this fourth try, because after this little episode where Gina kind of goes off on Blair, the next thing we see is Gina in handcuffs because Blair preemptively called the police to have Gina arrested so that she doesn't do the stuff that, you know, gets them killed. And Blair thinks that she's doing something good. The DHS guy comes over to Gina. He was like, ma'am, this weapon isn't even registered to you. And so that's when she tells, look, we live in a shitty neighborhood. My brother works the graveyard shift. I have to watch his girls. And I keep it in my car to make sure that the girls don't get to it. And then she starts going off on Blair. We both know why you did this. And she was like, so the tanker won't blow and we can move on. And then the DHS person is like, okay, ladies, you need to step back from each other. They still going off on each other. And then they get into the absolute worst cat fight I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah. All that rolling around on the ground. Y'all get up. Get up.
You're going to hell. I'm already there.
They weren't even rolling on the ground. Like there's one point where Gina's on top of Blair and then they're side by side and they're fighting each other side by side on the concrete. I was like, what point is this? Like, what is the point of this? The guy is over there eating his wife, the walker. Leo has gone back. The tanker guy gets back in the tanker. They're fighting. She pulls out some of Blair's hair, talking about, oh, I'm going to give it to Jasmine. And then they realize the tanker has pulled off. The tanker is going away, and here comes a car into the gas station
and blow it up.
Collides with the tanker, blows up. Here we go again. So this is where we start getting the montage of stuff. You see Blair and Gina fighting. They're inside the tanker fighting with each other. It blows up. Here comes Blair on the side of the tanker with a gun. She shoots Gina. It blows up. Then we see Blair driving the tanker. She's looking satisfied with herself. And then here comes Walker Gina, who she killed, comes up and eats her. The tanker blows up. At this point, they're just both like, okay, we don't know what to do. All the coworkers are looking at them like they're crazy. Gina she's broken the vending machine so they can have snacks, and they sit there and they start talking about what's going on. They're like, you know, I'm thinking about his eyes. His eyes are always gray. And then they talk about Wendell, the little kid who, dies once or twice in the scenario. They're trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to make this different? And it's funny because you see them kind of sort of bonding a little bit, but you can tell they still really can't stand each other. So at this point, once they're having this conversation, Blair's like, I can't do this anymore. She goes to the bathroom and she throws up. Gina comes in there with, a bottle of soda or something for her to clean her mouth. And then they sit down and they have this conversation about what they're going to do and how they can change things. First of all, let me say this. Why is there carpet in the bathroom? Why is there carpet in the bathroom? It is even by the Walking Dead timeline, this is supposed to be 2010. Why is there nasty doo-doo green, doo-doo brown carpet on the bathroom? Please explain that to me.
It's an office, and it's probably an old office, and it has the same fixtures and stuff from the 70s when carpet was a big thing.
I looked. That bathroom, the cabinets and the fixtures and everything, that's all modern stuff.
I was trying to help it out.
I was trying to, maybe it's not the carpet. We see those rugs. The rugs are really big. They just cover up the whole bathroom.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then they're sitting on them, which is even more nasty.
Oh,
which is more disgusting. But anyway, so this is where they're talking about, have you noticed we never make it to 5 o'clock? And Blair is mentioning to Gina, she was like, you always go to the gas station, and you always take the tanker, we already know what's going on. Things are bad out there. The military is blocking the they're blocking the city. You won't be able to get in unless you know exactly which routes to take. And that's when Gina tells her, she's like, look, I'm just trying to get to my family. I'm trying to get to my nieces. You have Brian. I just want to go to my family. Just let me go. Stop trying to stop me. Because that's one of the things that keeps happening every time they replay the scenario. So during the next time, Gina, she leaves the bathroom. She goes to do whatever she's supposed to do. Blair, she comes back out. She tells the rest of her team, she was like, look, guys, the police are not telling you the truth. This thing is worse than it seems. We're going to close early. You guys can leave. And they all think that she's crazy. They're like, what did he say? Do you need a Xanax or something?
Right.
Your boss is telling you to go home and you're looking for reasons to just to say, oh, no, we need to, go home. Go home. Your phones were lighting up for a reason. There's some shit going on. Go home. So they go home. She sits there. She smokes a cigarette. Here comes Brian, because Brian has been waiting for her for 30 minutes and she's not shown up. And at this point, she's like, look, she was like, I really appreciate you being there for my dad, with me when my dad passed. She was like, but what are we doing? She said, do you notice that at the gas station, you never take more than 2 steps out of your car to help me? And he was like, gas station? What? And she was like, yeah. She was like, you never help me. You always sit there and watch me die. Why is that? And he was like, what are you talking about? Huh? So I guess at this point, this is where she realized, okay, you know what? We don't really need to be together. And I mean, that was kind of obvious from even the first time they were together when they had the conversation. It was just kind of like, I don't see how y'all are together. But I mean, who knows? We don't know. We don't have the whole backstory. But she breaks up with him. Then she walks outside voluntarily, again, with that same damn scarf in her jacket, still holding on to those 2 things. And she has 2 walkers approaching her. She literally turns around and she's like, okay, let's get this over with. She moves her hair and she lets the walker bite into her and dies. And here we go again. I was like, okay, so if that didn't work, what was What's the whole point? I'm not getting it. So yeah, here she goes. She's tapping her fingers on the desk, and she realizes that she's like, she makes this motion like somebody's eating her, and then she realizes her tapping and she stops. And Gina's looking at her like, huh? What the hell happened to you? Their facial expressions, I'm telling you, Gina has she has the deadest look at this point. She's just kind of like,
she's so over it. She is
Yeah,
so
she is.
over
She's
it.
like, I don't even know why I'm still here, why I'm still doing this. But yeah, so Blair sends the whole team home again. She's like, Gina, a minute. They go to the back, and Gina was like, yeah, so you were right. I never made it out of Atlanta. She's like, what happened to you? Oh, I got eaten. Not the best way to go. I don't want to do that. Then they kind of start making, I guess, amends. You know, she apologizes to Gina. Hey, I'm sorry I've been a dick to you for the last 2 years, blah, blah, blah. Let's just try to figure this out. Let's do something different. So the next time they go to the store and they do this thing where they're walking together, where Gina's walking and then Blair comes up next to her, and they're walking. It's supposed to look like some, I don't know, some kind of good cop, bad cop vibe they're supposed to be. I don't know. This whole thing was just hilarious to me because they're walking up and they look, and the funny thing is, we see the chaos that comes with them through this whole episode. But if you look at them, they are like two of the most unassuming, unthreatening looking people ever. What is Anthony saying in the background? Or you watching TV?
No, I'm looking at the scene as you're saying it.
Oh goodness. So they are the most unassuming looking people ever. But when they come up, Blair starts talking to the DHS guy. She was like, that dude back there, he's one of those things, and he's going to kill everybody in here. And then she tells the tanker guy, she was like, yeah, you want to give us your keys. She's a murderer. She's killed people. I've seen it. And he just throws her the keys.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is going this is happening a little bit better so far. They get into the tanker. They're able to drive, and then they have a little bit more of, conversation with each other about different things. This is when Blair finally tells Gina about her dad passing the last year, which is really weird to me because I was like, okay, this has really got to be a weird work dynamic because your father passed and nobody in your office knew about it.
Right.
That is true.
Like nobody, you didn't have a way to like.
But you can tell the way that she was. She probably didn't even tell nobody in that office because she wants to put on this front that she's better than everybody. So how dare she be weak, and discuss, something so personal with these people who are beneath her.
Right. Right. But anyway, so they're sitting there, they're talking, and she tells her the way to get out of the city. And she was like, okay, so we're going to go to Atlanta, right? That's what Blair's like, because Gina's trying to figure out, okay, so where are we going? She was like, watch this part. We're going to go get your nieces. And she said, I don't understand. She was like, you could have stolen a Porsche. Why the tanker? And Gina was like, well, I mean, think about it. Who's going to mess with a bomb on wheels? Nobody's going to mess with us. And if what the rumors are true, then the gas is going to be more valuable than money soon anyway, which she is telling the truth. She is telling the truth. And then she also goes into a little bit of her background because some of the things that she's saying, Blair's like, okay, yes, this makes sense. She was like, okay, that is way too smart, I guess, for somebody who just sits around and does nothing. What do you do? Like, who are you? And that's when we find out that Gina has a marketing background, and she just, she kind of took that job because it was temporary, and then she got complacent, and then she settled, and then she just started hating her life, and she just kind of was existing,
Kind of like we all do.
Yeah, we've all done. I've never done it to that extent. Never to that extent.
Oh no.
But they kind of, I would say, they kind of get a little bit of an understanding about each other. Not necessarily saying, okay, they're going to be the best of friends now for however long they're going to be living, but they at least understand, okay, so you're not the person I thought you were, that I thought you were, and then you're not the person I thought you were,
Right.
And I think once they make that realization, things are a little bit better, because again, here they are driving, nothing has happened yet, they haven't blown up yet. They actually come across a roadblock of police who are trying to keep people from going into the city. And they're like, yeah, we're going to test this theory out. And they go past the roadblock. Now, here's the thing, Casey, correct me if I'm wrong. Did that not look like the same stretch of road that Rick and Michonne killed those walkers with the barbed wire?
It was 20 in McDonough on the way to Griffin.
I was gonna say that
was, and that's where Tara,
even with the off ramp,
Tara was sitting.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the whole street.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, that looks familiar.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So they go past the police blockade. They get on the other side, and they, they're still going. And then they realize that there's something happening. They stop the tanker because they hear like horns in the distance. They pull over, they're on the overpass, and they look at the street below them, which is filled to the rim with cars, the way that streets should be when people are fleeing a zombie apocalypse. Hello, episode 1 of Tales. But not only that, these people are being, I won't say chased down because they're not really running, but there's a herd coming their way, a huge herd, which to me is kind of weird considering this is the very start of the zombie apocalypse. But okay, I guess that was to make up for the lack of zombies, the lack of walkers in the last episode. But yeah, so they decide that they have something to do, because at this point when they're having their conversation, they're talking about how much of a coward they both are. They're like, yeah, so we still are cowards because we stole the tanker. We could have done anything different, but we still stole the tanker. That makes us cowards. So at this point they realize, okay, we don't have to be cowards. We can be heroes. We can do something. So they take the line. They pour gas down onto the cars below, and they tell everybody to clear the way because they're about to set it on fire for the walkers. They dump the gas. Gina tells Blair to light it up. Blair lights her cigarette and she drops it like she about to do some shit. And the cigarette fizzles out before it hits the ground. When I tell y'all, I hollered.
That was the funniest thing ever. You think you're about to get this big explosion, and that thing said.
They're like, we done blown ourselves up 100 times at this point, and the one time we needed to blow up, it doesn't.
It won't. Don't work.
When I tell y'all, I laughed so hard at that. I was like, that's just perfect. It was literally so was. It was so funny.
The next part is perfect. The scarf.
And that's the yes. So they're like, we need something to light. And she pulls the scarf, and Blair is like, that's my lucky. Okay, we can burn it. They burn the scarf, they drop it, and of course the cars catch on fire. So they're looking at each other like, yeah, we did a good thing. They turn around, they start walking off in slow motion. And then the fucking tanker blows. Now, the good thing is it blows and knocks them away. And they're still alive at the end. They are very badly singed, like Gina is missing half of her hair. But girl, they're still alive.
I died. She looked like bad doll hair.
She did. It did. But here's the funny thing. Notice that as soon as they got rid of that ugly ass scarf, they didn't die. That's the one thing that changed. They didn't have a scarf. And she was talking about that was her lucky scarf.
Well, clearly it wasn't.
Oh yeah, because every time you know what, Michelle, that go back to what you said, because you said why every time she got out the car, she took that. Yes. So it was the damn scarf.
Mm-hmm. That scarf had some bad juju on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Now see, I appreciate that now. That makes sense. That truly makes sense. Very observant, Michelle. Kudos. Because I missed that. But I did wonder once, like, why she keep taking that coat? But it didn't even dawn on me that, okay.
Especially if you're getting out the car just to say something to someone real quick. You're supposed to be getting back. I mean, you take the whole. Only thing she forgot was the purse.
Right.
If she had one.
Yeah, I don't even think she cared about the purse, but she cared about that scarf and that jacket.
That jacket.
And that damn AstroTurf vest she got on.
Yeah.
But so once they realize they're still alive, they're trying to figure out, she's still trying to figure out, she's like, okay, but are we dead? Like, are we still dead? Like, what's going on? And then Gina starts talking to her about, no, I think you have personality disorder. And Blair is looking at her like, I thought we were past all of this name calling. And then she was like, no, I think you have a personality disorder. She names Foley I do. And this is the same thing that she was actually looking up at the beginning when she was making the list of all of Blair's personality traits. So I went to look it up, and it says Foley I do, also known as shared psychosis or shared delusional disorder, is a rare psychiatric syndrome in which symptoms of a delusional belief and sometimes hallucinations are transmitted from one individual to another. And I was like, who, how, like, why?
And now you're like, okay, so where does it begin? Is it from the beginning when they first showed up at the gas station where the delusion starts? You don't know.
Have no idea. And what was it when Blair was like, but how can that be? And Gina says, well, think about it. Co-workers spend more time with each other than they do with even their own families.
Right.
So you could have affected me. And I was just like, can you imagine think of something that you have to share with the person you absolutely cannot stand in the world, and it has to be this. And then they get up and they kind of walk off, and we still don't know what the fuck went on. We don't know if this was a delusion. We don't know if this actually happened. I was just looking at it like, okay, I know I said last week I don't mind open-ended endings, but no, this was weird.
This is the only thing I didn't like about the episode. And it's just me. It started the first movie that had a really like vague ending. It was called Limbo, and a family was deserted on the island, but they had like some smugglers coming to the island, and they kind of killed them and got them away. And then they saw a boat in the distance, but you don't know if the boat was coming to help or if it was the second group of smugglers, and it ended. So I don't like endings like this where I just don't know. What the hell is going to happen? I can't even like draw a conclusion like, okay, they're going to go off and save the niece or just die in the middle of Atlanta. I don't know.
But that's kind of how the other one ended, with them arbitrarily walking down, a road with a goat.
But I'm okay with that. That's like, I can imagine like they end up liking each other. They survive a little bit longer. They find another bunker. They run into some adventures on the side. I can see where that can head, or they just die a month later.
Right. Right. I mean, they're both open-ended, but it's different because
Yeah.
with Joe and Evie, that was a specific type of ending, even though we don't know what happened with them, but we both know that they have come to accept certain things about their lives and about themselves. And they're like, okay, you know what? We're just going to move forward and see where this goes as far as like this journey that they're on. Not necessarily even them being together. Maybe they just realized they have found a great friend and someone to go through this apocalypse with.
Right.
That's very realistic. This was more of this was like a psychedelic trip. It's kind of like one of those things where you probably took some bad drugs and this is what you came up with. Again, I actually liked it. This episode was so funny to me and it was so different. And I was like, okay, I can go with this. But then the whole thing, she's like, okay, let's go get your nieces. Okay, so y'all went to go get the nieces, but I mean, I guess they're gonna walk. I mean, everybody else walked. Walked, but
then if it's in a delusion, sure. But where are they? Are they still burning on the side of the gas station?
I don't know.
We just don't know.
I mean, and then what happened to them all those other times? Like, was that something that was also a delusion? Was that something I don't know. That's the thing that bothers me about the ending. Because you don't know what was real and what wasn't.
Right. So like they could be dead and they could be walkers having this delusion together as they walking down the street looking for someone to eat.
But I mean
that's a possibility too. So we don't know.
I mean, she took a picture of her hair, of Blair's hair with the with her cell phone. So maybe I don't know. I want to think that, okay, yes, the end part was them together going off to search for her nieces so that they can get out the city or whatever. But then what does that mean for everything that came before it? Like, was that just, I don't know. If
it's a delusion, then all of it is made up, and pretty much they're right at the beginning on the ground in a coma, having a delusion. They can't be in the middle of the expressway and have this long delusion. You're like, oh, are we on 75 or 20?
I don't know.
So that's the weird. But it may not be a delusion. So that's what I'm saying. It's just I don't like.
Because I don't know what to think now.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, which part was real? Which part was not real? Because again, you two know that you are sharing this delusion and you're living this day over and over again. But what about the other people that y'all keep seeing? Like every time you see them, you already know what's going to happen to that person, or you know things about that person. What are they thinking? Like, how the hell do you know this? Like with the DHS guy who had the bite. How did you know I had a bite? How did you know this? How did you know that guy was going to turn? It's just one of those things where it's like, it doesn't make sense.
Or they had a delusion in the office and they kept having it, but then that means they were seeing the future. So that last time they knew exactly what to do when they left the office that day.
None of this makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It's one of those.
But if that's the case, they would have died again. They would have just kept dying. You know what I mean?
Their delusion,
rather than having one that ends where they blew up and got, thrown far enough where they didn't actually die.
And that's kind of strange. They were the same distance from the tanker those other times.
I told y'all it's that scarf was what was killing them. They burnt that scarf and got rid of it, and they lived to see another day. It was that pink ass scarf. I don't know. This episode was strange, and it was funny, and it was stupid, but it was a good episode. Like, I liked all of it. It was just, it was so out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a way, it's kind of like, there are some people who always complain that The Walking Dead doesn't change, it's doing the same thing over and over. They're not doing anything different. Well, they did something different this time.
Yeah.
I don't know how
You
that's
know, people still gonna have something to complain about, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, even with, the like I said last week, I know I follow some bloggers and some journalists who have seen the first 4 episodes, and most of them have said that they liked 2 of the episodes, which was the Terry Crews episode and the one we're getting next week, which is Alpha. And then the other 2 they didn't care too much for, which would have been this one and the 4th episode. I mean, I can see how this episode might throw you off, especially if you're expecting a certain thing from The Walking Dead. But like we talked about last week, this is one of those series where you can't go in expecting The Walking Dead.
Right.
Kind of like we did with The World Beyond as well, because it's different. It's a different series, different characters, different experiences. So you have all of these characters who are talking about the beginning of the zombie apocalypse and the different ways that they handle them.
And it was different for everybody.
Yep.
Right. You had Joe and Evie who were preppers, who were prepared for something like this to happen, and then at the same time not prepared for something like this to happen. When you think about the world ending, you don't necessarily think zombies. You think nuclear war or something of that magnitude. You don't think zombies. You don't think people coming back from the dead and eating you. So you're going to react to this situation a little bit differently. In this one, you have someone who clearly has mental health issues. Honestly, we don't know which one it is, because yes, all signs point to Blair, but it could have easily have been Gina as well.
That's true.
That's true.
It's true.
The whole Alpha thing, which is the episode coming next week, and we did get to see a preview of that, at the end of this episode. Alpha was on a whole different level. Michelle, you have not gotten, I don't think you've gotten to that point.
But all I know was watching the preview, I'm scared.
Girl, let me tell you, when you get to that point in the main show, the Whisperers, whole different ball game.
I'm like, I'm scared.
Because she is one of those, I'm trying to think of, like, she is one of those characters that you would think is crazy or kind of too far gone, but she is perfectly clear in everything she does and says. She is so unapologetically her, and that's the scary part.
Ugh.
When you get to those Whisperer episodes of the main show, like I said, whole different ball game. But I'm very interested to see this episode, because we've already seen kind of a prequel of Alpha before she became Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this, just looking at the previews and where the story goes, I think this is kind of in between what we know from her beginning and then what we've seen of her as the head of the Whisperers. So that's going to be very interesting, because again, we kind of know how she reacted to the beginning of the zombie apocalypse because of what we've seen in the main show. I'm just,
but I think this one gonna get way more, because we only saw like a little snippet in the main show.
Yeah.
So this is gonna give that whole little background before beta.
Yep.
Yeah. Intense. So this was a good episode to lead into the next episode.
Yeah,
this one's a little more lighthearted.
Yes, I like the lighthearted stuff before y'all get into the deep dark stuff. Right. So this again, I love this episode. It was hilarious. Blair got on my nerves. Yes, she did. But this episode was so funny to me. I was tickled. It was not what I was expecting.
Right. It was unexpected, even for me, because for me, The Walking Dead is grounded. So it's like, it literally really could happen. Mm-hmm. And to have an episode where we have a Groundhog's Day was kind of different. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a tad bit different.
Right.
But, enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the parts where this is not funny, but just their reaction to the beginning.
Mhm.
'Cause even when Blair said, "Oh, the CDC is right next door, so if something was really going to happen, they would have said something."
Yeah, people just
Right.
need to chill.
Yeah, clearly they didn't.
And couldn't, and we know that from
Yeah, we do.
first season. But
Yeah, watching them watch someone eat someone was like,
and that's all they did each time. They didn't try to prevent that at all.
no, let me tell you the part that really got to me. The part where she told the DHS guy, this guy is gonna eat, he's gonna kill everybody. He's one of those things, he's gonna kill everybody. And him and his son again, and his son, they go over and they look at him, and this woman is clearly fighting with this man, with her husband in the car. They get out onto the ground, and the DHS guy is just like, stop. And Wendell is like, Daddy, what's wrong with that man? And instead of shooting that man right then and there, you hear the commotion in the background. The guy is still telling the man to stop. His name is Leo. And I was like, y'all had to name another guy Leo. Okay, y'all can choose another name, because in Walking Dead World Beyond, there is another black man named Leo. But anyway, but that Leo was way smarter than this one. So you sit there, you're still telling him to stop. What are you doing? And then you hear Wendell screaming in the background, and you see the look of horror on Blair and Gina's faces, which let me know that Wendell got attacked by this walker before you pulled out your gun and started shooting him. Mm-hmm. Because Blair even says you were supposed to stop him. Like, what kind of father are you? Shoot that dude dead before he even gets off the ground. And why is your son even over there with you? The lady just told you he's one of those things and he's going to kill everybody. Wendell's son, I need you to go sit in the car and wait for Dad to come back.
True. And that reminds me that Blair was right about her fiance, what she told him. Because all these times he didn't get out to like, oh, ladies, you need some help, or let's go.
The most he said was, Blair, get back in the car. Blair, get back in the car. But what's she gonna do in the car? Y'all still can't go nowhere. Y'all ain't got no gas.
That part. We at a gas station waiting like everybody, because you couldn't steal nobody else's car because everybody there for the same reason.
Right.
I think I only saw one person actually pumping gas, and I think that was either the second go around or the third go around. When the tanker was coming in, there was a guy standing there pumping gas. I was like, oh, he must be getting the last of the gas. But it was weird to me because there were still cars in front of him. So I was like, maybe that was an error. Maybe they didn't catch that.
And then two guys were fighting at the pump.
Oh yeah, that was like on what, the fourth or fifth time. Fourth or fifth time when
they was fighting, that's when they caused everybody else to start fighting.
I was like, this is so ridiculously stupid, but it was so ridiculously funny. I enjoyed it. It was fun. So, sometimes we need to have a episode like that, or something that's a little bit different. And I'm glad, I will say this, I don't see something like that happening within the main show to that extent. We do get an episode in the back half of season 10 where we see a character dealing with a mental health episode, but that one was more serious in tone. That fit, but the way this one had so much comedy in it, I don't think it would fit in the main show. So I think it's good that they did it like this in this anthology, because again, this anthology are six one-shot episodes, where you're dealing with these characters, you're dealing with their story, and that's it. So you can do things a little bit differently. And they may not appeal to everyone, but somebody will like it. I have heard, now I don't know if this is true either, I have heard that there's going to be a musical episode.
And see,
Yeah.
that's different.
I don't know how that's
If
gonna
they
work.
have dancing zombies, I'm done.
I'm just saying, I don't
Right.
know.
They'll
I
break
have
out with the
heard,
Thriller dance.
I have heard, and I'm not sure because like I said, I have been staying away from all of the synopsises that they are posting. I don't want to know anything, but I did see somebody say, "Oh, The Walking Dead is getting a musical episode." I said, "Oh, I can't wait to tell Michelle this."
I see. I'm okay with musicals.
I know.
Thriller, eat my neck. I don't know. We'll know what.
Not eat my neck.
I don't know, but
don't know,
but
that'd
you
be
know, I think the way that this ended, again, we have the potential to see these characters in maybe other shows. Like, we don't know that some of these characters might have survived. I would definitely think that Joe and Evie would survive,
Yeah, they
especially with them being
They
preppers.
survived.
These
Yeah.
two, I don't know.
No,
I
they
don't
did.
know.
But Joe and
They probably never even made it to the niece house.
they didn't even make it to the next exit.
They didn't even get off the bridge.
No.
But you know what? I feel like now I want to go back and just look at the old episodes where they had the cars and see if that tanker was somewhere on that bridge.
Right.
Oh, but I mean, it was fun seeing something that looked a little familiar. I was like, oh, that looks familiar. And then when they went past the police barricade and they crossed over to the other side, and I saw that entrance ramp, I said, you know what? That is the same damn bridge. It's gotta be. But
it definitely is.
I tell you that, Blair.
I teared up a little bit.
Oh, did you? Oh.
I was like, oh, my boo was there.
Oh, but that Blair. I think it's been a long time since I've met a character on The Walking Dead that immediately grated my nerves. But she did it. She did it. She did a great job of it because she got on my nerves the whole episode. But I still felt bad for her. That's the thing. I still felt kind of sort of bad for her because I was like, you know what? I don't think she asked for whatever this disorder is and how it I don't know. I didn't do that much reading up on it, but I'm sure she didn't ask for that. And especially if you have to be attached to anyone sharing a delusion, why does it have to be the person you can't stand the most?
I swear.
That's true.
But
they have a connection. However, Blair is no worse than Evie from last week, but that's just me, and I don't really like the actress, so that did it. Evie and I love Blair, so
Evie was kind of irritated, but she won me over a little bit towards the end, like I said, especially because she went back for Joe, and she didn't have to do that, especially once she kind of found the answer that she was looking for in regards to her husband. She could have gone about her merry little way and gone somewhere else. She could have figured a way to go back home, but she was like, no, let me go make sure Joe got his happy ever after.
Right, so I can keep talking, because all I like to do is talk too.
Yeah, that is true. She did like to talk, but yeah, Blair.
At least Blair was evolving over time.
She was trying to fix herself by the end.
She did, because then she was very I'm scared, thinking about her dad. So she evolved over time.
Yeah, after they died, how many times?
Hey, at least she figured it out before she died for real.
That's true.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like that could be a dying hallucination.
That's true.
But they both would have to have the dying hallucination.
Not necessarily. She could have been imagining all of that in her head. that could have been her way to make her peace with somebody that she treated like shit before she died. You know, she could have imagined that whole conversation.
That is true.
True.
So again, we don't know. And we may never know. But you know, I finally got a chance to watch the Talking Dead preview episode where they talked about all of the upcoming things, and the actress who plays Gina was on the episode. And she did say that, you know, one of the things I liked about our episode is that, you know, we do kind of push the envelope like, okay, so what is going on here? Like, is this real or not? And you kind of leave it open like, okay, did this really happen? Or like, what's going on? She said she liked that about the episode because it was kind of, what is this happening? Is it not happening? Is this real? Is it not? You know, it's one of those episodes that kind of makes you think, and it is open-ended. So I don't know, but like I said, that could have been a dying hallucination. Like, oh, okay, I treated this person like crap. Let me find some way to make amends, apologize, whatever. Just, you know, settle her guilty conscience. Or it could have been Gina's. You know?
But I don't think it was her amends to make sure Gina got to her nieces? Because that would.
No, I think Blair's amends would be that at the end, she apologized for the way that she treated Gina. And then, like, not necessarily that they were friends, but at least that they could be civil to each other.
Right.
You know, because, I mean, you think about most people and their beliefs, whether religious or spiritual, one thing you always say is you don't want to have angry words being the last thing that you're remembered for, the last thing that you said, for whatever reason, whether it's because that's what the person left behind will remember you by, those negative words, or, you know, if you're really nasty to somebody and you have this belief of heaven or hell, if you were nasty to somebody before you died, where do you think you're going?
Right.
You know, right. So that, I mean, it easily could have been just her way to be like, okay, kind of, you know, soothe her guilty conscience for being the way she was at life. You know, that could have been her subconscious talking to her, telling her, yeah, your people really didn't like you. And that was just her way of kind of saying, okay, you know what? Let me
do something to make myself a little more likable.
Right. Yep. Or, you know, also, when you are at the end of your life, and we see this in a lot of stories, we see it in a lot of movies. When you're at the end of your life, you know, they say that whole thing, your life flashes before your eyes. And sometimes it's a mirror. It shows you the way you really were to people in life, because some people who are horrible don't know that they are horrible. You know?
Right.
So maybe this was something that made her say, okay, you know what? Maybe I wasn't the best person in life. So what do I need to do to change that so that I'm not just damned forever? I mean, that could easily be it. Or, like we said at the beginning, they really could have survived all of this and walked off into the sunset to go find Gina's nieces. We will never know. Maybe.
Right. There may be questions about this, and they're going to have to do a follow-up in season 2.
They might, because one, I need to know if Blair changed her clothes to live out the rest of this apocalypse. Because can you imagine dying in AstroTurf, and that's what you have to walk around as a zombie the rest of your live long days or live dead days?
No, she cut that up and made another scarf.
You know.
Or when they was on their way to Atlanta, she went to the store that she bought it from and found her a new one.
Yep, she went to the local Michael's.
She said that scarf was featured in Vogue.
Okay.
So you
okay. That vest is from the local Michael's in the craft section.
Right. Or from Dick's Sporting Goods.
Right.
That thing was horrible. Horrible.
He got a piece of that grass fabric and cut holes in it and threw a belt on.
And she's not gonna get far in those boots.
No.
At all. So they're gonna have to make a stop. But I don't
and
know.
Who knows? Maybe the AstroTurf is bite resistant. Might be thick.
Like Elton's corduroy suit.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be interesting if we see Blair show up in one of the other shows and it's 10 years plus down the line, she still has that AstroTurf vest. She's like, oh yeah, this saved my life plenty of time.
Right.
It's my favorite.
It would have to be.
Oh, yeah. The fashion police were definitely off duty that day. They were probably tending to walkers. But yeah.
You said,
But yeah, I enjoyed this episode a lot. I think a lot more than I expected to, because when I'm telling you, the first 5-10 minutes of this episode, I wasn't quite sure. I was like, what the hell am I watching? Do I even want to sit and finish watching this? I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna give it a chance. And then when it went to that first repeat, I was like, oh, okay. And that's when I started thinking that maybe it was Blair hallucinating all of this, because again, on that first repeat, it didn't seem like Gina was aware of what had happened. Or if she was, she didn't acknowledge it, or she didn't make it known. She was just kind of like staring off into space. And then she looked at she looked at Blair like, what the hell is wrong with you, when she started doing the coffee thing. But you couldn't have you weren't able to tell that Gina had gone through the same experience until the second repeat. So then that's when I was like, okay, wait a minute, this might be a little interesting. Let me see where they go with this. And then as it got funnier and funnier, I was like, this episode is hilarious. I texted Michelle and Casey. I was like, have y'all seen this episode yet? I am dying. And I don't know if y'all took that as me dying in a good way or a bad way. But
a good way.
I took it in a good way.
I did. I took it in a good way.
I figured it was funny.
It was.
So when I started watching it, I
understood it. Yep.
Yeah. So this was fun. Fun. So I wouldn't mind seeing another episode like this, just kind of, a one-shot dark comedy.
I think they're trying to, with these anthologies, or at least with the first two, trying to lighten up the heaviness of the main show. Because even with Joe and Evie's episode, it didn't feel like it had its intense moments, but it didn't feel as intense as the main show.
Right.
Yeah.
Or even other the other spinoffs. It didn't give that that level.
And I think also too, we have to realize these episodes, at least these first two episodes, take place at the very beginning. I mean, think about it. Even Brian was telling her, look, we're going to the island, we'll be there for a couple of days, and then when we come back, this will all have blown over. They were still thinking that this was something temporary. And they didn't even really know, like, especially in this episode, because it was right at the beginning, they were still going to work. They did not know what was going on for sure. They didn't know about the walkers. They didn't know about people eating each other. It was just a rumor at that point that, people were biting and scratching each other, kind of like maybe I don't know, like maybe they were being rabid. But they had no clue the seriousness of what was going on until they got to that store and saw that man eating his wife.
Right.
So that could be another reason why the tone is different too, because at this point they're thinking, oh, this is going to blow over. This is just something temporary. They didn't think it was something that serious. They didn't think it was something that was going to engulf the whole world, you know, because even at the beginning of The Walking Dead, you know, we had our serious moments because they were already a few months into it. They had already had to flee quarantine and that sort of thing. But even then, they didn't realize that it was how serious it was as far as this is affecting the whole world. They thought it was just Atlanta. And then they got to the CDC and Dr. Jenner told Rick, everybody is infected. And it just changed the whole ball game.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah. Again, early times, they're thinking they'll get through this. Oh, this is nothing. This is gonna be this is our pandemic. Oh, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be, you know, it's gonna blow over. Yeah, nah, buddy. I want to know where Brian is right now. You know? But
Brian's still sitting in the car waiting for gas.
You know what?
There's no tanker.
He might be, because you know she broke up with him. She told him to go to the island. Maybe without her, maybe he took a different route, or maybe he went somewhere different. You know, now that he didn't have to worry about her, or he didn't have to.
Wait, but do we know that that wasn't the instance that she told him to leave, was it? Because I think by the time we got to the end, that those pieces were cut off, so we can only assume what happened to Brian.
You're right, because the one where she told him to leave, that was the one where she went out and let the biter voluntarily bite her.
Right.
So we don't. Yeah, you're right. We don't know what's going on with Brian. Brian might still be waiting for her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
knowing him, he probably is.
Yep.
Oh well, so sorry, Brian. Oh well. Anything else about this episode? I think we've pretty much covered it all, and we've talked about how hilarious we all three found it. I think we all enjoyed this episode more than probably more than any of us expected to.
Yes.
It was very different. Like I said, the acting was hilarious. Just the facial expressions and the over exaggerated aspects of Blair's personality. I think that was the funniest thing, because she was one of those, like, you could tell she was very, I don't know, she had this huge ego, and the way that she reacted, like when she was messing with Gina in the office and got nasty with her, she was like, oh my God, watch out, she's gonna bite us. I was like, you are being so fake. And it's so obviously fake. And it was still funny. Yes, because I was like, oh, she knows she's not funny. She's just being that. And everybody else is looking at her like, what the fuck is wrong with her? It was just, yeah, I enjoyed it. But so yeah, the next episode that's coming up is an Alpha episode, Alpha and Lydia, and we will get to see a little bit more of their origin story, which, Michelle, this will be your introduction to Alpha. Mm-hmm. So I think I think in this way, it will kind of sort of inform you about the character that she became, but I don't think it will be too spoilery in that sense. Mm-hmm. So yeah. But so I'm looking forward to discussing that episode as well. But I guess for now, that is it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel and listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.